Hold up, I am on my way. I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 8 Beach Dollar Tree DIYs for you. It's that time of year again to do coastal DIYs. And even though Dollar Tree does not have shore living this year, we are still going to do beach DIYs. So let's get started with new beach DIYs. For this one, I wanted to make a really beautiful sea turtle art piece. And so what I'm going to do is use one of these little wood signs from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to switch out the beads on mine. They have wood beads on this little wood circle sign. And you guys were asking me to source some beach stuff from other locations. So I've been looking, it's been hard, but I did find a few things on Temu. I will try to post links to whatever I found. But for this one, I'm going to switch out these little wood beads on here with some sea turtle wood beads. I thought would be really cute since we're going to be making a sea turtle piece. This is what they look like. They're white with little blue sea turtles all over. Very cute. I did find some stuff from Temu. I found some stuff from Amazon. And there's also another website that I found for like wood cutouts that I'll try to post the links to everything in the description of today's video. The sea turtles do go a certain direction. So I had 3 go one way, 3 go another way. And then I just reattached the existing hanger to the sign itself. I thought that was really cute, especially because we're going to have some blue on this DIY. I wanted to try to make a sea turtle out of seashells and some of that crushed glass from the Dollar Tree. So I am just going to stencil it out. I made the stencil of a sea turtle silhouette. I will include a link to the free printable in the description of today's video if you'd like to recreate. I tried not to waste as much ink as I could by making it just an outline like this. And I'm just going to cut the sea turtle out just to use it as a template for how I want it to be shaped. There's a couple ways you could do this. You could just cut it out like this and sketch it out. You could actually cut it out like a stencil and kind of work in between it. I don't know which way would really be easier. For this one, I decided to go ahead and cut the flippers, the head, and everything off here because I thought that because I'm going to do the sections differently, like I'm going to do the seashells for the turtle shell. But then I was like, oh, it might not fit properly on here, so I still need to have it kind of lined up. I probably could have left it attached because what I'm going to do is just sketch this on here just to give me an outline. And I used a pencil on this. You might want to use chalk or something like that because I did have a little bit of issues with erasing the pencil and making it not noticeable. But the first thing I did was just sketch out the turtle shell. These are the seashells I'm going to use. I'm going to use a combination of these seashells I found on Amazon. You get this giant jar of them. And then some of the tiny shells from Dollar Tree, the little jar shells. Haven't been able to find those at Dollar Tree lately. So I've been getting these large jars on Amazon, and it's really just as cheap because you get a lot of them. And I have that linked in my Amazon shop under beach essentials maybe. And we are going to glue this on for the shell. I'm using tacky glue from Dollar Tree. It works great for making shell encrusted projects like this. It's super strong and it dries clear. And I just painted that on exactly where I drew out my outline for the turtle shell. And I don't really care what color it is or what style of shell it is. I just want it to be small. So there's a few larger ones in the jar. So I was just trying to pick them out just because they were a little bit bigger than I would like, but I just want the entire shell to be shell encrusted. That makes sense, right? And then I want to do the rest of the turtle with the crushed glass from the Dollar Tree. And your girl has sleeves on. It is not because I am cold here in Florida. I am covered from head to toe with poison ivy. I was mulching my yard to try to avoid fire ants because we keep getting fire ants next to our house. So I decided to mulch the entire perimeter of the house. And somehow the mulching gave me poison ivy. Like, I don't even think there was any poison ivy there. I must have had something contaminated on the mulch itself. I don't know, but it has been almost a week and I am dying. So if you have any fantastic remedies, I think I've probably tried everything, for poison ivy, please let me know in the comments below because your girl is suffering. But I got this encrusted. I started the drying process a little bit just to kind of see what was attached and what wasn't. A couple of them might have been double stacked. I used a little spray adhesive from the Dollar Tree too. It's not super necessary, but I thought it might help this along with sticking together. And then I decided to go in and try to erase the pencil. The problems that I had was it was really kind of hard to get in there without messing the shells up right at this point, right? And I was really having trouble getting in there at all. So, what I decided to do was just go around the perimeter with a little bit more of that tacky glue and add tiny shells around the perimeter to kind of cover up the pencil marks because I didn't want them to be seen. And I really thought that the glue over the pencil was really going to kind of seal that on there. And I didn't want that part to be visible. I thought I was going to be able to erase that a little bit better than I could, but I was able to fix it by using this method. And I also have exciting news. I have my son home from college. I went and moved him home yesterday. I got to help him clean his apartment that he was sharing with another guy and move him home. I'm so glad to have him home for the summer. He does have a lot of summer school this year for college, but he is doing fantastic. Now for the head and all of the sea turtle flippers, and there was even a little tail that I had sketched out earlier. It was part of the shell, I think. I just sketched these out with pencil as well, and I'm going to cover these with crushed glass. Now Dollar Tree does have these in a few different colors. I know that they have green, blue, and kind of a pinkish color. I think green or blue would work well for this. And I want to cover all of these parts with the crushed glass. I thought this would be a fun idea because it, looks like sea glass, but like a lot smaller. So it would work better for something more the scale of a project. So again, I just use the tacky glue. It works great for shells. So I thought it would work great for crushed glass too. And I just painted that on there and spread out my blue crushed glass. I absolutely love how this turned out. Anytime I can work with like sea glass, shells, different materials like that to make something, some of my favorite DIYs, just really cool. I do make sure to put down a nice healthy coat of tacky glue. I might have put too much on that first flipper though, so I'm just going to spread that out a little bit there. I want it to dry quickly and clear, but I do want it to be secure. I just don't want to waste any glue if I don't need to. And even though it goes on white, you're thinking it's going to dry white. It really doesn't. It dries crystal clear. It might give you a glossy finish. So I try to cover as much of it as I can with the stones or the shells when I'm working with them. And I just work my way around here. He has 4 flippers and a little tiny tail. I love sea turtles. They're one of my favorite creatures. They nest on the beaches here where I live by the thousands. And so it's always such a fun treat. I've got to go see them lay eggs with some sea turtle groups a couple of times now on the beach in the middle of the night. And it's so fun. I've even seen a leatherback hatchling hatch out of its nest one night at the beach and head to the ocean. So that was really cool as well. They're just such beautiful creatures. Very cool. We even got to swim with one. And where was that? That was in the Virgin Islands. You got into a pool with the sea turtle, and it was a really cool experience. I always love seeing them in the wild as well. This is how my sea glass and seashell sea turtle turned out. I think it's really cute and a fun way we can make a beach DIY without using shore living products from the Dollar Tree. Isn't that so pretty? I love how it turned out. And I think it's a perfect size for that size sign. For the next DIY, I wanted to see if we could make a beach house out of one of these house signs from the Dollar Tree. Just a regular house. I did consider removing the chimney on it, but then I thought back, you know what? When we lived over on the island, we did actually have a fireplace with a chimney, so I'm going to leave it on. And I am going to paint it. I mixed Caribbean blue with white together to give me this soft beachy blue. I love that the white is distressed with wood, and I do want some of that to come through, so I don't do a very thick coat of the acrylic paint, but I do want to make sure everything is covered with the blue paint. And then I went over it with a paper towel to kind of wipe some of it off. So maybe you could see some of that distressing come through and you can still see that wood grain. I also want to have two signs hanging below it. I'm going to use these little wood planks from the Dollar Tree to make that and some Dollar Tree burlap. I thought I could cover these signs with the burlap roll from the Dollar Tree. You could use any kind of burlap or even the faux burlap bags are great for crafting. This is almost the same width as these plank signs. It's actually a little bit wider, which works. So I'm just going to cut out two pieces of these, the same length as the planks. And I thought I could have little dangling signs hanging underneath the beach house that say beach house. So that is my plan for that one. And I love using burlap with coastal DIYs. I think it turns out really cute. To attach that, and while my paint's drying on my beach house, I'm just gonna go ahead and Mod Podge the wood planks. This is probably, out of all the wood sizes they have at the Dollar Tree that come in those packages, this is probably the one I use the most. It's just a great size for crafting. And I put a nice thick coat of Mod Podge down because I really want to be able to grab that burlap and make sure it's strong enough to hold that on there, because we're going to be adding some letters to that as well. These are the letters I'm using. I've been having trouble finding these wood letters at the Dollar Trees. Mine only have numbers. What about yours? What have you found at your store? So I've been out of vowels for a while, so I'm going to make this work. I'm going to turn my F's into E's, and I'm going to turn my Q into an O, and we're going to make this work. Because I like the wood letters so much more than the metal letters, and they're a whole different size. So what I do is I cut the part off the L there to make the F and E. So we're going to make that work. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these on some painter's tape. It's just going to make them easier to paint. For the O, I had to cut the little parts off the Q here. I'm just going to use a razor blade so I don't mess this up too much. It's a little bit thinner than some of the other letters, but I think it'll work. And then, of course, I have to make another E here too. I must use a lot of vowels on these because I'm totally out of vowels. Once I get those on the painter's tape and I have everything cut out to size, I'm just going to go ahead and paint everything with some white acrylic paint. I thought that would really pop against the burlap. And I'm just using a makeup sponge to paint. I find that works really good with the small, thinner signs from the Dollar Tree and letters and stuff like this. I used to be able to buy the little makeup sponges like this from the Dollar Tree, but I've been having trouble finding those as well. So I've been having to get those on Amazon, but they are super cheap. So we have all of our letters. I did go over them with a couple coats of white to really make them pop, and they're going to fit on here. It's a little tight, especially with beach. I tried to center it by doing the center letter in the center, but I did find that, the letters are all different shapes. I did kind of go off the side here a little bit, but not too bad. I think that that will work. And it's already glued down, so we're going to have to go with it. I decided to lay out all my letters for house first, though, so it wouldn't happen down here. And again, I'm just going to glue everything on with hot glue, and then we're going to start decorating our beach house. In my last coastal DIY video, I did a beach house, like a 3D version of a beach house, but this is going to be like a wall hanging of a beach house. I thought that'd be fun. For the window, I'm going to use one of these little chalkboard. They're on the little clothespins from the Dollar Tree. I thought that that'd be a nice size rectangle for a window. I do want to distress it, make it look beachy, so I do go over it with some white, distressing it, and just wiping off any excess with a baby wipe to go with the distressed feel. I did want a little bit different color and fabric for the roof, so I'm using that burlap roll to cut out the roof. My original plan was just to use the seams, but as you can see, the seam on this side is like not sewn well at all. So I'm just going to cut out little strips of burlap here that I think are going to be wide enough to cover the roof. And it's just going to give you like a little fun touch of burlap, but it's also going to provide the needed color change you need here for the roof. I'm going to leave the chimney blue. We are going to add a fun coastal touch to it as well, but I wanted to decorate it just like a simple little beach house with all kinds of like fun ideas. I did find some other items at Temu, some beach shapes since there's no shore living this year, and I will show those to you as well. And I am just going to reattach my hanger now. I can just go straight through that burlap. That's the original hanger that came with the house sign. And I don't really want my window to be black. I want it to be blue like glass, but I do want it to be a little bit darker than the house. So I left it black like that and then went over it with the same like Caribbean blue color that we used for the house itself, and hoping that that'll make a little bit darker shade of blue. For the beach door, I'm just going to make it out of popsicle sticks. I didn't really have anything that was the right size. So you know what? We're going to piece together 4 popsicle sticks. These are kind of the medium size ones, I guess. And I'm just cutting them with my scissors, straight line here at the top. And I can put them together over here on this side to do a door on our beach house. All I have to do is glue them down. I'm going to go ahead and glue them first before I cut them, just so I make sure that I cut them all the same um, length and there's like none that are kind of jagged. So I glued them on first and then went in with some heavy duty scissors there and just trimmed those down to size. Another coat of blue here on my window. It was a little darker than I wanted, and I can add the little window over here on the side. It's not a really big house. You could do 2 stories and have the window at the top if you wanted. I thought about doing that. And then I'm also going to make some window shutters with the popsicle sticks as well. I'm just going to cut them down to size into little shutters. They're the perfect width, the same popsicle sticks that we used for the door. Then I wanted there to be like a shell on the top of the house. These are from Temu. These little cutouts are really cute. They're very similar to the ones that they've had at the Dollar Tree and also the ones that they've had in the Crafter Square. So you could really use whatever you have. You could even use a real shell on there. I do want to paint the door white as well. So I go in there with my makeup sponge and white paint and do a couple of coats of white on that too. And also painting the shutters for the windows white. I wanted to stick with like that beachy blue and white and burlap color scheme for that, which works so great for coastal. I have a lot of that in my home decor. And if you're wondering, I do have every room in my house, except for my son's room, is done in coastal. But his bathroom is. And I just draw a window on with my white paint pen, really easy, and then hot glue a shutter on each side. The shutters are a little plain, but I am going to add some details to that as well. Just touching up my window frame, making it a little bit wider here. And I'm just going to use a blue Sharpie. I have like a light blue Sharpie from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to draw on some panels there for our shutters. And then go back over that, distressing that with a little bit of white, just to make that look coastal farmhouse distressed. I'm going to add the shell here to the top with a little bit of hot glue. And I thought there needed to be a little bit of definition, maybe a door frame around the door. So I just kind of sketched that onto the popsicle sticks with that same blue Sharpie, distressing that as well. Very cute. I think the door is the right scale. It does need a doorknob, so I'm going to use a little wood bead from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to fill in the hole with some spackle and glue this on right where your doorknob would be. It does kind of dent in a little bit where I filled it in with spackle, but I kind of like that. It almost makes it look like a lock on the doorknob. And then I painted that white acrylic as well to kind of blend in with our little beach door. It's looking really cute. I didn't want the window to look like glass, so I added a little white paint at diagonal angle. For the chimney, I wanted to use some of this netting material. I got this mesh ribbon at Amazon. I have this linked in my Amazon shop down below. And I'm going to use that for the chimney. I think that's going to be a fun little touch just to make it look a little bit different, but add a coastal element to it as well. I think it makes great fishnet. You can also use the mesh ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I wanted something coastal to decorate my door, something to size. These are the little crafter square shapes of an anchor. They are tie-dye, and I want mine to look a little bit more coastal farmhouse. So I just flipped it over and actually distressed the anchor with white paint here on the back to kind of make it look like distressed wood. And it's a perfect scale, I think, to decorate my little beach door. I'm just going to glue that on here. Half the fun in your beach house is decorating it. I thought it needed more coastal touches, and I found these cutouts in a smaller size from Temu as well. I wanted white ones, so I'm going to do fish and starfish across to really add the coastal beach feel to this, but really stay with those neutral colors, the white and the blues. And I just attached those in a row across the top of our beach house. And now I think we can start putting this together. I'm going to flip everything over, and I'm just going to use twine and hot glue to attach the little signs that are going to dangle down below. I love a dangly sign like this. I think it's really fun. My wood on both projects I don't think is thick enough for my staple gun, which is why I'm using hot glue, but it seems strong enough. I just cut out 2 pieces of twine and glued my signs together, and then I'm going to glue that, trying to make sure that I hang that level when I attach that to the back of my house sign. And there it is, our little beach house sign. I think it turned out really cute. What do you guys think about this one? Another fun beach DIY using supplies from the Dollar Tree. And I got a few items there from Temu as well. Isn't that so cute? I hope Dollar Tree starts carrying the letters again so I don't have to make my own. But it says beach house here at the bottom. I think that was a really fun project. It was really fun to put together. For the next DIY, I wanted to make a mermaid tail, or I guess you could even say a whale tail, out of some Dollar Tree signs. I liked these smaller plank signs from the Dollar Tree. These are the smaller ones out of the 2. I'm going to do 3 across, and then to put them all together, I'm going to use a larger sign. This is one of the wood square signs from the Dollar Tree. It's not ideal because I want this to be rectangular and it is square, so I'm going to have to cut it down. But I thought it would be cheaper than using more of the wood panels on the back because, look how much more wood you got there for $1.25. I do want it to look like a wood panel sign with thick wood boards like that with a little bit of gap in between them. What I did is I flipped them so the openings, the little holes are on opposite ends to make them look like wood planks. And I'm going to glue this on. I'm going to start on one side of the wood square and just glue these on. Be careful. I accidentally dropped mine, got hot glue all over my first board. I had to go in and clean that up, which does affect how it stains. But I'm going for a old driftwood feel to this, so I actually added the project by adding a little imperfection to it. So I glued those on, just reversing where the openings of the holes were. I'm going to go to my saw, cut that down close to the panel. My saw did kind of chew up this sign a little bit, but again, I wanted it to look old and distressed, so I think it's going to work well. I did have to make a hanger here for the back because I noticed when I added the boards to it that the twine kind of got in the way from the original hanger. So I just took some twine and knotted on both sides. It's now thick enough that I can use my staple gun. I'm just going to make sure that I put it a couple of inches from each side so it will hang evenly with some twine here and burning off any fuzzies. I want this to look like old driftwood. The best thing that I have found for driftwood is to mix some ivory paint with some Antique Wax by Waverly and then distress it with Antique Wax by Waverly. It gives you a great driftwood feel. The perfect shade of, I guess, tan, and I'm going to go over all of the boards. Layering these wood signs from the Dollar Trees together made the sign a lot thicker and more substantial, which is what I'm going to need because we're going to be adding a lot of elements to this that are going to be kind of heavy. And I really wanted this to be a flat board sign, no bowing or anything like that. And this worked really well. So if you didn't want to do the square sign and you didn't want to do the cutting on the original sign, you could always find a rectangular sign to attach your boards to as well. I distressed it with the Antique Wax by Waverly to give me a wood grain. And this is the tail we're going to do. I think it looks more like a mermaid tail, but it could also be considered a whale tail, I guess. What I want to do is I want to do a really cool shell-encrusted mermaid tail coming out of the ocean, and in the ocean I want to make out of sea glass from the Dollar Tree. Now, I didn't like the pencil lines last time, so I'm going to do one of the chalk markers from the Dollar Tree. This time, try some chalk. This actually worked a lot better. But I designed this printable of this mermaid tail. I will include a link to this printable in the description of today's video if you want to recreate and you need a little stencil shape. I think it helps when you're trying to form something like this that you really want it to look like a certain shape. I just sketched that out with the chalk like that, and I'm going to decorate the inside of it. For this one, I wanted a larger shell and I wanted interesting shells. So these are some of the little shelled shells and jars from the Dollar Tree. I am going to use different ones of those. And then they also have just like the regular shell shapes like that from the Dollar Tree, but I was trying to do like medium and small ones, but I want them all to be different colors and to look really interesting. And we're gonna just start hot gluing these on in the shape of the mermaid tail. I did have to go into my stash, like for like shells that I found at the beach, to find more colors and options because I don't want it to be just 3 different shells. I want it to look really interesting. And again, just be really unique. I want all of my shells to be very unique. So I'm just going to start by hot gluing these on. I don't want them to be too big, so I did have to go through my stash and try to find some smaller ones. But again, if they had a little bit of color, I really like that. I'm just putting it together almost kind of like a puzzle and piecing it together. I want all the shells to be unique. If the shell is similar, I don't want it to be necessarily next to each other. And I'm just hot gluing everything on with my hot glue gun. I think that that's going to be plenty strong and a fun way to glue shells. I was wondering if any of you guys had any recommendations for your favorite way to glue shells. I, go back and forth with the tacky glue and the hot glue, but I didn't know if there was another kind of glue that I might be missing out on. So you'll have to let me know in the comments below if you have a favorite glue for your seashell crafting. As you can see, I did work in some smaller seashells from time to time, anytime I had a gap, and because I really wanted to keep that and retain that shape of the mermaid tail. Again, I'm trying to go on the inside of the chalk too, so that I will be able to go back and erase that and you won't be able to see any of it. But I filled in my entire tail with seashells. And as you can see, lots of different colors and variety. Whatever you have in your seashell stash will work. You might have to go to the beach first. To wipe off the chalk, I just wet a paintbrush and went around to clean that off. It worked really well and removed all of that, no pencil lines. So the chalk method, definitely a great way to sketch out your silhouette. But isn't this looking so pretty already? I love the variety of the seashells. Now, the sea glass from the Dollar Tree has changed a bit from what it used to be. It is now these nice flat pieces, and you can get the ones like this that don't have the royal blue in there. Now, you could use the royal blue because we are making the ocean, but I had more the teal, the greens, the whites, but I think we can make it work. And I want to put it all over, so I just start like laying them out, kind of like puzzle pieces. I don't want too much of the clear, but I do want to use the clear, and I want to fill it up like this is going to be the water in the ocean. And then I'm just going to start hot gluing these on. I laid them out kind of a rough sketch. I do want them to be a little bit closer together, so I just glue them as tightly together, not quite touching, but I'm leaving the gaps pretty minimal in between and trying to fill this in just to make it look a little bit fuller. And this is going to represent the ocean. And I love crafting with sea glass. I think it's so fun. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to do a second layer or if I wanted to make any kind of bigger waves. I didn't really choose to do waves, but I did do a second layer just kind of here and there with the pieces just to make it look a little bit more full and add a little bit of variety to it. This is how it turned out, a little mermaid tail made out of seashells in a sea glass ocean. Didn't that turn out so pretty? A lot of those shells are from the Dollar Tree, and a lot of them are just from my pocket at the beach. And then the sea glass there is from the Dollar Tree on those Dollar Tree wood panels that really turned out really well. I'm glad that I decided to construct it that way. For the next DIY, I'm using a glass bottle from the Dollar Tree and these ocean napkins that I got on Temu. I will try to post a link to these as well. It's a very abstract scene of an ocean on a 2-ply napkin. I am going to cut it in half and attempt to Mod Podge this on. I used a little bit of painter's tape to separate my layers. This was a very cheap napkin, so I did have a little bit of difficulty with the Mod Podge process. I'm just using a Dollar Tree bottle, and I found a great floral from the Dollar Tree that I think looks really coastal. I just cut my napkin in half, and I'm trying to see like how much I need to cover the whole thing. I probably will overlap it a little bit. Now, I had to do this project a couple of times because Mod Podge and glass and thin napkins don't always work together. But the good news is if you mess up, you can always wash it off and start over again. I did a very thin coat of Mod Podge all over the bottle. And I was going to try to do the iron method with my little Cricut Easy Press iron, this one, but it malfunctioned and it's no good any longer. So I'm very disappointed in Cricut. That was way too expensive to have lasted such a short amount of time. Maybe I should contact them and see if they'll give me a new one. I read online that it is a very common problem. It just beeps instead of turning on. I wadded up some saran wrap. This is the floral that I'm going to use from the Dollar Tree. I found these the other day with lots of different pampas. This one's not labeled exactly what it is. Does anybody know what this is called? I thought it looked coastal. I love the colors. It had a couple branches in there, and I thought this would be perfect for this bottle. I let the Mod Podge stick on this one. This was my successful attempt for a minute or so until it became tacky but not dry. And then I applied the napkin very carefully, just putting it on with the plastic wrap that I had bunched up. And the only place I really got any wrinkling was the back here where I overlapped it, but that's going to be the back of the bottle, so I think I can live with that. I added more Mod Podge there for the seam, and I just tried to touch it all over very carefully. I tried not to sit it down. The problems I was having with this DIY was the napkin tearing, so I was really trying to make sure that it didn't tear this time. And I'm not going to Mod Podge over the top of it because I was having such difficulty with it. I'm just going to leave it as is. I don't want to mess it up. For the top part, I'm going to cover that with twine. I just start here at the top of the Dollar Tree bottle and attach the twine, and I'm going to overlap the napkin a little bit to fill in this section. This is going to give a fun coastal touch. The twine I'm using is from Walmart there, but you could always use the twine from the Dollar Tree. This one's just a little bit thicker. And I thought that these glass bottles were the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree, but one of my stores just got them in, and they don't have Shore Living this year, so that doesn't make sense. So I think that they're just a home decor product, but they're really nice size vase. And I just cover this entire section with that twine, again, overlapping it just a little bit. That Walmart twine is a little rough. I did try to carefully burn this off, being very careful I didn't try to catch my napkin on fire there. But it made a really subtle vase. I love this napkin pattern. I think it's really pretty. And a fun way to just take a Dollar Tree bottle like that and make it an extra special vase. Isn't that so pretty? I love the gold metallic for the waves too. Very subtle but pretty. And I don't really think I have to add anything to this except for just adding this like dried out greenery. Again, I don't know what this is called, but I think it's really pretty, to the vase. And this is how it turned out. I think it is very coastal and pretty. What do you guys think about this DIY? Had a couple fails on this one. I thought about leaving it in, but I didn't want to make the video too long for you. And this is my successful attempt at Mod Podging on the glass with that beautiful napkin. Now for the next DIYs that I've done on my channel, I'm going to be using some items from the Shore Living here and there, like these little glass floats. If you want a DIY tutorial on these, I have DIY'd these. I will try to include a link to them. I made them for Christmas ornaments for my tree, so you can DIY them if you don't have any of these left over from last year. And I'm going to use 3 of the turquoise and 2 of the clear for this. You can use whatever you can find. I kind of wanted 2 different colors and I wanted an odd number. You could do like 3, 5, 7. Any of that would look really good, I think. So I'm just going to leave them as is. They are perfect. I have a scrap piece of Dollar Tree rope that I'm going to use for this project. And I'm going to kind of loop it like this so one end is longer than the other, and then just simply tie it on itself there at the top. That can be the hanger, and it can have 2 little ropes hanging down. Now to attach the little fishing floats to the rope, I'm just using Dollar Tree twine. It's going to blend in with the rope and the twine that's already on these, and I can kind of stagger like clear, turquoise, like that. 2 on one side and 3 on the other. So I just simply tie the twine, tying it on just about an inch down from where I have it knotted off at the top. And then I can put the second one down here towards the bottom. I want to hang them where they're all kind of like staggered, but it also looks like they're all hanging with rope, which is why I use the rope for the base. Now for this side, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go turquoise, clear, turquoise. They also have royal blue for this, if that's kind of more your color scheme. But definitely look for these. I know they are going fast in the stores that I've been in. They're so cute. I did not see these online, I don't think. Otherwise, I probably would have ordered a case of them. So I'm just kind of estimating where to tie these off. I'm going to tie all three and then kind of see how it hangs. I want it to look like a bunch of little glass fishing floats hanging together for my wall. So easy and so cute. So I tied this one towards the bottom, kind of testing it out. It hangs like way lower than the rest of them. So I'm going to move it up a little bit and see if that hangs a little bit better. But this cannot be any easier. I have bought as many of these as I possibly can because I think these would make an awesome coastal Christmas tree with little ornaments, right? That looks way better. Let me show you how it looks hanging up. So simple, all you need is a little bit of rope and 5 of the fishing floats to do it exactly the way that I did it. But they're all just kind of hanging randomly. The rope, it looks like they're all hanging by rope, even though that would be kind of hard to tie them up like that. But the twine worked perfectly for that. And how cute are these? If you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and comment your favorite DIY below. Okay, next DIY, we're going to take some of the Dollar Tree burlap, some of their sand dollars, 3 of them, and 1 of the long board signs. You could use really any kind of board sign you could find from the Dollar Tree. Again, I want to work with an odd number on the sand dollars. And so I think 3 will fit on this size sign well, but the reason you can use anything is because I'm going to cover it with burlap anyway, but I do like the light wood frame on that one. So this is just Dollar Tree burlap. I guess you could probably use some of the printed one if you wanted. I kind of wanted simplicity on this project, but I'm going to have to kind of iron it first to be able to have a flat piece of burlap because the way they have it rolled up. So I'm just going to kind of iron this section and cut off what I need to cover the back of that sign. Anytime you do like a burlap with like a white starfish, sand dollar, whatever, looks so coastal, it looks so pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut off a little bit more than I need. And then I'm going to measure my sign so I can kind of, I want it to be like raveled at the edges, like, you know, like real burlap does. So I kind of like that. So I'm going to kind of pull off this string there to kind of make it look raveled. And then kind of trim it a little bit because it was a little bit uneven for my first side. And I'll show you the trick that I use to cut burlap really easily. This one, I'm just going to be able to kind of trim it. But for the next one, I'm going to pull a strand. So if you lay it on there and kind of figure out where exactly you want to cut, find that individual strand of burlap, grab a hold of it, and just yank it out. Just a great trick for cutting burlap. And ever since I learned this technique, I always do it because then it gives you a little path right there to cut. So just going to cut all the way up. It's going to give me a straight line. And that looks really cool. So I'm going to do the same thing here at the top, just pulling my strand and cutting this off. Now, I don't want you to be able to see any glue or anything like that with the burlap. So I'm actually going to use Mod Podge to secure it. And so I'm just going to Mod Podge on the back of the sign. This sign's really pretty. I mean, you could probably get away without the burlap, but you know, I like textures on my DIYs. And this is going to be a great coastal DIY that can go anywhere in my home because you guys know I have every room done in coastal because, hey, I live at the beach. Why not? Now, I just put a nice coat of Mod Podge all over and then just laid the burlap on there. Just going to use a paper towel to kind of dry that off. And have you guys seen the new you see that little paintbrush that I use, the paint sponge. They have those like in little variety packs with all different kinds of paintbrushes now at Dollar Tree. It's new. I've never seen them before, but I think it's a good deal. Now for the hanger, I'm going to want to switch it to vertical. It was horizontal before, and I always save these little hangers off of the Dollar Tree signs when I don't use them, and so that is what I'm going to use. I just find the center. It has a plenty thick frame that I can screw into, no problem. And just trying to get it centered on there so it's going to hang right. But whenever I can use like a real hanger like this, I'm going to try to do it. Just going to make it look a little bit more professional. So I just screwed that into the back, trying to get it in there all the way. And then we can go ahead and decorate this with sand dollars. So we have the great base. These sand dollars are great. They're not real sand dollars. They're like, I don't know if they're made out of what, resin or plastic, but they're great for crafting because they're not going to break. And they actually are not that gray tint this year. So I picked up a whole case of these online. I have my Dollar Tree link in the description below if you'd like to pick up a case. I still think that they're available by the case. I don't know if the starfish are. A few things have been added, a few things deleted, I think. And then I kind of want them evenly spaced out. So this is about 16 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark about 8 inches here. And then I was trying to figure out if I wanted to do like every 4 inches. Then I thought that wouldn't be too good. So I'm going to do like 4.5 inches on both sides and just put a dot there. I think I can kind of do the measurement the other way just by eye. And all I'm going to do is simply hot glue the little sand dollars down. I'm going to start with the center one. I kind of like them with like the long slot there pointing down on these. But how cute is that? I'm going to do the same thing here with the other two. This DIY really doesn't need a lot of fuss. It's just going to be a sand dollar like plank board sign. And I love the skinny signs like this because you can kind of just put this anywhere. My house has like a lot of like skinny walls and areas because it's not like a big house by any means. And this is going to be great. I think I might put this maybe in a bathroom. I think that would look really good. And just gluing those on. So cute. So easy. Just a fun idea you can use these little sand dollars for. And hopefully you're like me and you have a stash of these sand dollars from the last several years at Dollar Tree with the Shore Living line. If you don't, I have been able to find sand dollars for crafting pretty inexpensive on Amazon from time to time, but I have yet to find a substitute for these resin ones from the Dollar Tree. I haven't been able to find any this size like this. Okay, the next DIY, I picked up one of the beach rope signs. I love these, but I thought I could make it even better. So I'm going to use a long sign. This is actually, I think, Shore Living from last year, but it doesn't matter because you're not going to be able to see any of it. I was hoping I could save the starfish pattern on there just by removing this sign that was on top because I want to make this a base for my beach to make it a standing beach rope sign. But I was not happy because it ripped it and the pattern was actually on the sign. Isn't that kind of weird? I'll save the wish upon a starfish metal sign though because that's kind of cool. So it doesn't matter which one you use. Any of them would work, or any of the Dollar Tree craft wood would work too. You just want something heavy, flat, kind of skinny. I don't like the ripped paper on there particularly well, so I'm going to clean that up a little bit. I'm going to kind of sand it down the best that I can, but half of it was like really stuck on there, so I'm just going to kind of make that the bottom of it. But again, I don't like the way it looks. I want it to have more of a finished bottom, so I'm going to show you how I do that. I'm just going to take some contact paper. It can be anything. This is just like some wood contact paper from the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to lay my sign on there, use an ink pen, sketch that out. As you can see, this contact paper has been through it on my work desk, but I'm just going to cut that off, and just a big sticker that's gonna make the bottom of this look better. And yes, this kind of looks cheap, but you know what? It looks better than that ripped paper on the bottom. So I'm just gonna peel and stick that there. And again, Doesn't matter what pattern or anything because it's going to be on the bottom, but it did make it look better. I'm just going to use my sanding sponge to get a perfect cut so you won't be able to see any of that in the final product. But I wanted a base so I could stand up the beach sign and then kind of decorate it a little bit, make it look a little bit better. I do have this pesky sticker on there though, so I'm going to remove that with just a Dollar Tree putty knife and heat gun, and then we can just paint and decorate this as is. That really didn't leave any residue, so that's good. It won't be visible like with the painting and stuff like that. I'm going to use my favorite color by Apple Barrel, again, the cloudless color, and we are just going to paint the base of this. Doesn't have to look perfect or anything because I love that coastal farmhouse distressed look with my blues, but I wanted a blue base for this. Then we can attach the beach. The great thing about the beach being on the sign is that it's going to make it stand up really well, and just a really fun way to use these signs. They also have the word relax, home, and love with Shore Living Line this year, but I wanted beach for this one. That's probably the one I've picked up the most of because, of course. And I've made like rope letters like this before, but if they're already made like this, why not? So I painted the top of it. I'm also going to paint all of the edges and sides of it that blue color. And as you can see, that kind of raw wood kind of soaks it up, but you can make it look a lot better. So I just paint all of the edges. Once I get that looking so much better, then we can attach the beach word. And I also want to add like a little beach item. I'm going to use one of the sand dollars from those little wood beads that you see there from the Dollar Tree. They did bring these back again this year, and I love crafting with them. I don't really like the color of the starfish, so I usually paint that one, but the sand dollar is perfect. It's already white, and I love those beachy color beads that I can use those for another DIY. As you can see, I did have to use another coat because it really soaked up the wood there, at least on top. But the sides can look a little distressed. I'm fine with that. Now, the rope beach sign has two hangers on it. I told you I always save these hangers. I've already used one earlier, and it is because I can just reuse them. So I don't need them on the sign at all. So I'm just going to use my screwdriver and remove that. It has the perfect wood back to attach it. I'm just going to clean mine up. The rope is a little fuzzy, so we're going to burn off our fuzzies with a lighter. Trying to clean it up a little bit. This step is totally optional, but whenever I work with Dollar Tree, the brown rope especially, I always like to try to burn off the fuzzies. And then we can stand it on the sign. Now, each sign's probably going to be a little bit different. My rope on mine was not cut really well, like on the H's and stuff like that. I noticed that it was a lot longer. So I am just kind of touching it up a little bit, making sure everything is glued in place. It is easy to read. And then I'm going to trim off some of the excess rope there on the bottom of the beach word to make it look, to be able to stand up better. It was just kind of a little bit long down here, so I just trim up any of those letters. Just use some heavy-duty scissors to kind of saw through that rope. And then it will be out of the way. You don't want it to like kind of go to the side or anything like that. I want it to stand straight up. So wherever I think it's going to come into contact with the sign, I just put a little hot glue there and glue this in place, kind of centering it on the sign, trying to make sure that I got it on there even. And I went over to the left a little bit with my sign because I want to leave a little bit of room there on the right for that cute little sand dollar. So easy peasy, it's ready to go. All I have to do is cut it off and attach it. I think it looks better over on this side here. So I'm just going to put a little hot glue on the rope and glue that in place. It's very lightweight, so it's really easy to attach it there. And it provided the perfect like final touch to this little beach sign, I think. I did not really care for the edges of it though, the base. So I thought, you know, some of this burlap trim would be really pretty. I'm going to use the zigzag one. I think any of them would look nice. I think burlap trim looks so coastal, so I use it a lot in my DIYs. So I'm going to do a bead of hot glue along the front of the sign and just glue that in place. I'm going to wrap this all the way around so all of the base has that burlap trim on it, just securing it with hot glue. We can have it meet up here in the back just to kind of make it look more finished, make it go all the way around, even here on the back. And these little touches like this can really take a simple DIY like this and just make it look way more high end. So just gluing that last piece in place, and this DIY is complete. It was really easy to make, but I really love how it turned out. I could put this just about anywhere. It's not too tall, and it's just a simple rope beach word, cute little sand dollar on there with a coastal blue base with a burlap trim. Here is a close-up view so you can see that that rope did clean up really nicely. I know this beach word was a short living word, but I have seen these from time to time in their regular aisle as well. You could always spell out the word beach with Dollar Tree rope as well, but you'd have to put it on another sign. Okay, the next DIY, I wanted to see if I could take some of the bamboo rings, a planter from the Dollar Tree, and make a fun little coastal planter DIY. So I picked up this navy color. I thought this would look really nice with some of this new coral fabric. This is from the Shore Living line as well. And it's more of a royal blue with like light blue coral on it. So I thought we could kind of make this correspond. So I popped the bottom of it off because I'm only going to do the top part of it. But what I want to do is do a fabric covered pot. And then I also want to see if we can make a fun Dollar Tree DIY plant stand with those bamboo rings. So I picked up this pot because I thought it would fit nicely in the smaller ring of the bamboo rings. And I just wrapped that fabric around. It looks like it's going to be plenty big enough to go all the way around. So what I'm going to do is just wrap it tight since it's kind of an odd shape, right? And just start cutting it off where I'll have excess fabric on the top and the bottom. And then I can always trim it down to size. I thought this would be the best way because, you know, the bottom of the pot is skinnier than the top of the pot. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a weird shape here to keep it tight against the pot. So that looks pretty good. And to attach it, we're just going to use Mod Podge. So I just start with like one section at a time, and we're going to cover it with Mod Podge and start attaching the fabric, wrapping it all the way around. I wasn't sure how it would work on this like line textured plastic pot, but it actually worked pretty well. It was pretty easy to do. So I'm just going to do like the center section here, nice coat, and lay that down kind of like in the center part of the fabric that we cut down to size. And then we can just keep adding glue and wrapping the fabric around. So once I have that in place, I did this side of it, wrapped the fabric tight, and made sure I had enough Mod Podge down to do like the entire piece. And then we can wrap that around and slightly overlap that to finish it off. I do want like my cut for the back of my pot to be kind of straight, so trying to cut that at like a little bit of a straighter angle there. So it kind of makes sense for like a single line seam there on the back. And then I'm just going to use more Mod Podge to glue the fabric to itself, slightly overlapping right here in the back. Just making sure there's no bubbles, everything's laying down smooth. It went on super easy. And then I'm just going to cut along the top part of the pot any of the excess fabric off. And it doesn't have to be perfect because I do have an idea to kind of cover up my loose seams on this to make sure I don't have any like odd cuts or fraying or anything like that. So I get it cut as close to the plastic as I can all the way around the top part of the pot. On the bottom, I was wondering if I could like leave it and fold it down inside, but I ended up just going ahead and cutting it off like I did with the top. A little trickier to get in there, but again, just trying to cut it as close to the pot as I can. I want to be able to pop back on the bottom part of the pot. And since the colors match together, I think it'll still match well. That like navy color with this beautiful coral fabric. I wasn't sure about this DIY. I was kind of winging it on the plant stand and stuff like that, but I actually really love how it turned out. Pretty cute. So again, I just pop the bottom back on, trying to make sure I don't have any strings, any crazy fraying on that, and that it's all glued down really well. Let's just go ahead and remove the sticker here from the bottom of it. I was trying to decide if I was going to make it like a hanging plant stand or a standing one. I ended up doing a standing one to kind of raise it up and make a little plant stand for this pot. Really fun to do. And I want to trim it out with some burlap. So this is the burlap trim from the Dollar Tree. I thought this would be perfect for that top seam. And I'm going to kind of hot glue it on there with a tiny bit of an overlap over the top to kind of give, this is like kind of a curvier one. They come in these like multi-packs of like different shapes and sizes. But I really like them because the burlap really looks really great with all kind of coastal crafting. So I just go all the way around and I just have my seam be right there with the fabric seam on the back. Now for the bottom part, I'm going to switch it up to a different design, a little bit smaller, same package, and do like the zigzag burlap trim just to do the seam along the bottom. And I don't really want it to interfere with that bottom section. I just kind of want it to make the seam look better here. So again, I start on that seam there on the back and just hot glue that trim all the way around. It's just going to finish everything off. No unraveling or crazy cuts or anything like that exposed. Just makes it look a little bit more professional and finished. I think that looks pretty good. Now, I'm not going to do a real plant on this. I'm actually going to DIY like a faux plant because your girl does not have a green thumb. I think it's the fact that my house doesn't have great windows. It's an older home, and my last house here in Florida had great windows for plants. This one just doesn't, and so I keep most of my plants outside, but I wanted to do a cute little planter for inside. So these are the bamboo rings I'm going to use to make the stand. They come in a 2-pack with a larger and a smaller one. I end up using the 2 smaller ring pieces. As you can see, that fits really well for that size pot. It goes about half the way up. And so I'm going to kind of DIY one. So these are little bamboo sticks that I actually got on Amazon. They should be linked in my Amazon shop, but you could also use the wood dowels from Dollar Tree. I like these just because they're flat. And I'm just going to use my miter scissors to simply cut these down to size. I'm going to need 3 pieces all about the same size. And I just kind of estimated how big I wanted it to be. And that's going to be my side pieces to hold the planter up. Since I'm doing a DIY, like not a real plant, it's not going to be super heavy. So I think that this stand will be definitely sturdy enough. I just do a bead of hot glue there on the bamboo stick. Stick it on the bamboo ring from the Dollar Tree. Just like that. And I'm going to do like one every third of the way around. So if I turn that around, I can kind of see where I need to space out the other 2. That way it's not too busy. I think that's going to be plenty of structure on this little plant stand. So again, just a little dot of hot glue on the bottom, gluing that bamboo to that. And these work really well together. I've made like a coastal toilet paper holder for one of my coastal bathrooms using these bamboo sticks, the full length, and it turned out great. I've done it a couple of years ago, and it is still working well. Now I'm going to do the same thing here on the top. I do a bead of hot glue on the inside of each one of them. I'm going to flip it over. That way I can kind of use my work desk as leverage there to glue that on to the other wooden ring. So just a really simple little plant stand, but I thought it was a fun little DIY to do. And the bamboo always looks nice and coastal. So now that that's complete, I'm going to leave it as is. I love the bamboo color of that wood. And we can start DIYing our little faux plant. And I'll show you exactly how I did that. I just popped in a couple of the little foam blocks from the Dollar Tree. And this is the greenery that I found at Dollar Tree today. I think it's so pretty. It looks like a tiny monstera leaf, a really cute little pattern. And I just cut individual leaves for the first couple rounds to make it lower and not too tall. And I'm just going to kind of go around the edges, just kind of like pushing those down between the different foam pieces all the way around. And I don't really want you to be able to see inside the pot, but I am going to kind of cover that foam and stuff in case you can see in there a little bit. Wanted to see how much coverage. These are kind of a plasticky leaf. But they did still kind of iron pretty well with my heat gun when they were going bent or anything like that. So one package kind of went all the way around the edges. I'm going to go in with some floral moss while I can still kind of get to the foam. This is the Dollar Tree brown floral moss, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to put a little on top of the foam, a little on the top on the sides. Nothing crazy. I just want none of the foam to be visible and it to look like it has almost like a soil color there as the base. I'm going to cut apart this second bunch too. I'm going to use a total of 3 bunches of these to make a nice size plant to look like a really beautiful little house plant that I don't have to take care of. So as you can see, it's filling out really nicely. Since I cut those all down to size, all of those leaves are like a nice shorter. And I'm going to leave the last bundle together. It is too tall though, so I'm going to try to shorten that the best that I can. For some reason, the wires in these were like super strong here at the base. So I tried with my pliers to kind of break those off, and I didn't have a lot of luck. So I actually just kind of bent them up. The wires because I couldn't get them to cut, but that's okay. And I just put the middle section down. That provided a nice height for the little house plant, and just kind of arrange it a little bit. Actually turned out pretty cute. Looks like a little faux house plant. And I don't know if the plant stand would be strong enough if you filled it up with potting soil. I guess you could always try it, or you could just DIY the pot like I did with the really fun coastal fabrics from the Shore Living line. This is how mine turned out. I think it turned out pretty cute. My little fake plant. I love that coral print. I think that's so beautiful. But I think you could really use any kind of coastal fabric you have. I know in the past several years, Dollar Tree has had lots of different shore living fabrics. You could also find some possibly from Walmart. I've seen some great coastal prints there as well for some coastal fabric, but it was a really fun DIY to make. Okay, you've reached the final reveal. I hope you got some great beach crafting inspiration today in today's video. Let me know which beach DIY was your favorite down in the comments below. And don't forget to check out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, to watch individual clips on your phone. Enjoy the final reveal.
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I'd also like to thank all of my members for supporting my channel here on YouTube. Thank you to Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Marion Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, Maria Cruz Pagan, and Sarah Tratner. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member and get early ad-free access, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You also get a badge next to your name to show off your support for our channel and a shout out in every video, and I really appreciate it. I'd also love to see what you've been crafting. So be sure that you are a member of our private Facebook group and show off your DIYs. We would love to see them. You guys are the most creative bunch on YouTube, and I would love to see what you've been making as well. So make sure to join our private Facebook group and linked in the description of today's video. Would you like some more beach crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting.